start with what we got. And we're gonna turn to page 19. I'm gonna try to stay with the script and not deviate. And because it's very important. Keisha. Excuse me. Keisha.
What'd you say?
I gotta put my glasses on, I can't even see the numbers on here at the bottom. They're small.
It's very important that we understand
I need to
understand
stand.
this science. The basis of everything I teach is based upon this thing. Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food.
Yep.
Put that in your head,
We did it.
that food is medicine.
I agree.
Okay, and throughout this 9 week, we're gonna learn how to use food as medicine. Okay, not entertainment, not for pleasure, but for medicine, for the health of your body, for the health of your mind. Today, we're gonna be dealing with the frontal lobe, okay? Because in many cases, the problems that we have, okay, come from cognitive debilitation. And we don't even know it because we've been, go ahead.
What does that mean?
That means this
Cognitive,
debilitation, that means that the mind is not functioning on a level of competence. You understand what I'm saying? All right, so I'm gonna try to keep my terminology grassroots the best I can, okay? All right, so we're gonna be dealing with the frontal lobe. This is the frontal lobe, okay? Right here. Okay, this is the frontal lobe. All right, and we have the premotor cortex, the motor cortex, prefrontal cortex, and the bronca area. The bronca area is about right here, okay? And then you have the prefront, which is about the prefrontal cortex about here, and then about here for the motor cortex, and the premotor cortex is about here, okay? So you can pass this around so people can just look at it. That, okay? And it's very important that we get this, okay? Because all our lives, we have thought that we were eating food. I'm gonna show you today that a lot of things that we are eating is only drug and chemical sponsors. And it's not because of anybody in here fault. Not because we're stupid, not because we're dumb, but because we're looking at stuff that look like food, but they are actually chemical and drug hosts. Okay. And I'm gonna show you certain foods, and I hope it doesn't over-amaze anyone. You know, because you might say, I've been eating that. Okay. So we're dealing with the frontal lobe. How many people in here know what the frontal lobe does?
like this is the brain, the core,
Okay.
the front part of your brain.
Yeah, the frontal part, which is the executive of the brain. If it don't work, the rest don't work properly. Okay. It is the executive. Just like the liver, which we'll go through next week, is the executive of the digestive system. If the liver and the digestion is, if the liver is not giving enough bile, sending vitamins, LDL, and different things that it does, which we'll go through next week, then you're gonna have digestive problems. You're gonna have ill health in your digestion, which causes other afflictions. You know what I mean? You know, oh, I always got a headache. When people tell me that, I go straight to the what. Okay, what is your diet? What are you eating? How many bowel movements do you have a day? How much water do you drink a day? Because I know something is wrong with the digestion. Yep, okay? So now what we need to understand about the frontal lobe is that A, it is our intellectual functioning, okay? It is our rational reasoning, okay? And our moral judgment, and it is intent and will, okay? And we'll explain all this. So the primary motor cortex is concerned with planning, initiation, and control of physical movement, or what we call coordination. That's the primary motor cortex that was about here, okay? And then the dasolateral is concerned with like planning, strategy, formation, and other executive functioning, okay? And then the prefrontal cortex, to the left here, is involved with, okay, let me get, okay, I want y'all can follow along, okay? I'm on page 20 now. Verbal memory, okay? While the prefrontal in the right here is involved with spatial memory, okay?
What does spatial mean?
Well, it's like, say you look at this room, this is space, right? Spatial memory is in your mind when you're thinking about this situation. Space,
Okay.
okay? How much space, say you walk in your kitchen, somebody say, hey, can this fit in there? But you're not in the kitchen. So that spatial memory will come up and you'll
Oh.
look at it and say, no, I don't think that's gonna fit. Okay. All right. So, the left frontal is called the operculum, okay, of the prefrontal cortex in the bronchi area about here, okay, about here, okay, is very important because it is responsible for expressing language. Expressing language. So say you have a grandson or a child and they're just having a hard time talking. Okay? So now you know, okay, we need to empower that cortex. Okay? So then you look it up and you say, okay, herbs and foods that empowers this element of the brain, and put him on that diet. Okay. The best for that is like, they call it bacopa. And it's a tincture that I make that relieves stress, creates a better flow of adenosine. Okay, adenosine carries vitamins and oxygen through the blood to the frontal lobe of the brain. Okay, so we need to have that in power because the lack of oxygen, what they say, if you get injured and you knocked out and you have no blood flowing to the brain, how long you got to live? Not long.
6 seconds.
Yeah.
Tap out, yeah,
Yeah.
until they get it to
That's
us.
right, that's right. So just think if you have 50% oxygen and vitamins going to your brain, is that enough? No. But in most cases, because of the foods that we eat, okay, and the drinks that we drink, which are full of chemicals, synthetic vitamins, when they say, like you get flour, they say enriched. What do they enrich it with? Third grade vitamins and minerals that they extract from cow manure. So when you got enriched flour, it's enriched with vitamins and minerals that come from what? Cow manure.
What?
Yeah. And this is how you get worms, parasites from these foods, especially the processed flour, processed rice, all enriched. And they get the vitamin from a third grade material that we call manure. Extract those vitamins remaining in that manure, turn it into a synthetic, and they spray the product. with that and say it's enriched, but it's a third grade vitamin. Our body takes first grade vitamins that come from healthy, raw foods. Okay? Some foods you have to cook, like rice, beans, which is a compound protein. But a lot of things we shouldn't cook at all, like raw vegetables, you can steam them. I didn't see people cook vegetables until they ruined it. No, you don't want them to be like that, okay? Because now they're denatured. Okay, now the vitamin content is so low it does no good for your body. Okay, steam your vegetables. Okay, make them, and retain that natural fiber and vitamins and minerals that's in these foods. Okay. Now, the orbital frontal cortex of the frontal lobe is concerned with response in inhibitions, impulse control, and moral behavior. Okay. Now I'm gonna show you something right now. If you see a child and say he's sitting, okay, because we believe everything on the inside, what's happening on the inside shows up on the outside. Okay. And that child or that adult have his mouth like, that's a sign that there is dysexecutive syndrome, which means dysfunctional functioning of the frontal lobe. Okay. When your mouth is like this, you shouldn't have your mouth. That's not normal. Okay?
Get the bugs.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you've seen that in a lot of youth. And we're gonna find out tonight why. Okay. So, damage to the frontal lobe is called dysexecutive syndrome. Dys coming from the word dysfunctional. Dysfunctional executive, which is the frontal lobe, is a syndrome. That means it can be corrected. Okay? It can be corrected. Okay? And it shows up in our cognitive thinking and our actions and our memory. And we can see it by having a poor working memory. Okay? Poor short-term memory. And difficulty in planning and reasoning. Okay? Environmental dependency syndrome, that is the inability to accomplish tasks and goals. What do we call that? Procrastination. Okay. Procrastination. All right. Poor working memory. Short-term working memory. Okay. So, I don't know how many of you, I know I've done it. You're doing something and forget you're doing it until you smell the smoke in the pot. Oh! That's a poor working memory. You're doing something and forget you're doing it. Or you say, okay, well, I'm gonna cut the fire up high. I'm gonna come back 5 minutes later and cut it down low. And you come back 15 minutes later. That's a poor working memory. Okay, and we shouldn't have that. We shouldn't have that. Okay. So as a result, we experience emotional dysfunctional traits such as difficulty in inhibiting emotions. That is, we have a bad temper, anger, we get excited, okay, sadness or depression, lying or manipulation. You know about that. Everything, we want something, and like little children, we want what we want when we want it, and we will go across a moral boundary in order to get it. So we manipulate and we lie. Okay? That's this executive syndrome that shows up. Okay? Difficulty in inhibiting emotions, of course. Difficulty in comprehending new points of view, which generate frustration and stress. Have you ever had a conversation? You didn't agree, but you didn't look into it. It might have been right, okay, but you just never had that experience where you can deduce properly. You see that all the time, especially when you go on Facebook, everybody arguing. Different points of view instead of saying, okay, I'm gonna look into that. I'm going to examine what you're saying. They stuck what we call being in a box, a cultural, intellectual box. You learned something when you was 3 years old, now you're 40 years old, and you still believe in that principle, even though you should have matured that principle to a level of your age and maturity. Okay?
And you said that's a result of the, some of the food and
I
chemical.
still don't want to be when I grow up.
We're gonna go through the foods in just a minute, okay? But I want you to know the traits so that, you know, you got kids and grandkids that you love, and you can see this formulating in them, okay? Then you can take action, say, oh, hold up now, okay? This is systematic, okay, an identification of this executive syndrome. Okay, because we want mentally healthy children who is able to be productive, who is able to learn, who is able to grow. And in most cases, I know that sometimes I talk to people and it's like talking to a 12-year-old. Okay, they're unable to expand beyond that perimeter culturally, intellectually, rationally, and spiritually. They can't go beyond it. They can't grow. They have no developmental tools. Why? This executive syndrome. All right?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Do you think some of our problems in today's world is because they took God out of school? And
No, I mean, you know, the institutions, God should be at home. You establish the premises of spirituality in your home, not in your schools. Okay, that is, we take responsibility over the spiritual and moral development of our children. Okay, you know, I don't believe you can take God out of anything if you got God with you. Wherever you go, you're gonna take him with you. Okay, he's not a phone. And they say, well, you gotta leave the phone at home. No, kingdom of Elohim or God is within you. So I think that's just a distraction, you know.
you think he's mad at the world right now? Or
No, I don't think God gets mad. I think
even or something?
it's a cause and effect. And we'll deal with that because we're gonna have a class on spiritual development also. Okay, holistic spiritual development. So we have difficulty in points of view. This is called frustration and stress. Okay, if you're stuck in a bathroom and the door won't open, or stuck in an elevator and the door won't open and you can't get beyond that boundary, what you gonna do? Yeah, you're gonna be stressed out. Hey, I gotta get out of here. Okay, it's gonna generate stress. Okay, same way intellectually and rationally. If you cannot mature beyond where you are, okay, that doesn't mean you change your belief, you mature your belief. You understand what I'm saying? And you're unable to do that, all you're gonna do is generate a lot of stress in your life.
Not being able to accept different points of view.
Not being able to examine.
Right.
Okay. Now, after I examine it, investigation comes before judgment. Now, after I examine all the evidence that you provide for me, I can make a rational decision. But if I refuse to examine the evidence that you are giving to me, this executive syndrome. Okay? All right. Hateful towards others outside your cultural dynamics. Okay. Racism is what? Dysexecutive syndrome. All right. Thus, we see behavior that is defined by nature as anti-moral. So when you see inappropriate aggression, inappropriate sexual behavior, inappropriate humor and entertainment, you know, this profane entertainment that we have now, you know what I mean? Every other word is a curse, and the woman is a bitch, and the guy is a thug, and you walking around with your pants down, and, you think you hip hop master or rock and roll, you know. Okay. Right, because that relates to the lower element of the mind. There's a scripture that said, I will make you the head. That means intelligent, and not the tail, because the tail of the spinal cord is a part of the brain. And it's right where the butt is. I don't think that was an accident. Okay. So we want to be functioning in an enlightened, intellectual, rational, and moral state. But we find that that ain't happening. Why? Because you're not a car. Your body wasn't made for chemicals. Your body wasn't made for pharmacy. See, we get it all messed up because we say, okay, I don't take illegal drugs. But the same effect that legal drugs have on the body is the same effect that illegal drugs have on the body.
Yes, I agree with you.
Huh?
I heard an interesting statement on this morning getting up, and he said, people want to legalize marijuana. He said, would you get in a plane, and a lot of people think it's okay. Why?
Yeah.
It's natural, it's this and that and the other.
You
He
still
said,
don't
would you get in an airplane and the pilot was smoking marijuana?
Yeah.
Well, you
the-
get behind the wheel?
THC is a neurodegenerator.
Right, a chemical.
It's a
Well,
chemical.
They'd have to
Yeah.
sell it just like beer, and same rule. But
Mhm.
I'm just saying, you don't have to smoke it, and just tax it. And
Yeah, I mean, the system
I
don't
really-
care.
I don't want it, I mean, it just.
CBD is good. CBD is very good. It relieves stress, but the THC in marijuana,
So
you have to extract it, separate it, because it's a neurodegenerator. Okay. People say, oh, it don't have any of it. Oh, yes, it's a neurodegenerator. Okay, that's why a lot of people experience paranoia, fear, their appetite is out of control. Okay. Because their mind has been degenerated. So I don't use it. I had someone ask me, she said, well, can I convert to your faith and smoke marijuana? I said, start where you are. I said, I don't do that, okay? All I can do is educate you to what it does, okay? And how to use it properly. Somebody said, well, can I have one beer a day? Start where you are. Okay, because the beer is not the problem, okay? The problem is your body doesn't have the nutritional strength. Your immune system is so low, it cannot resist that alcohol. I had a lady, I'm trying not to get off the same script, but let me tell this one story. I had a lady, she came to the shop, and she said, Baraka, my husband, he come home and just drink beer all night. I said, how much he drinking? She said, sometimes 2 6-packs a night. I can't take it. I can't take it. There's no longer infection. And I said, okay. I want you to give him this herb. And she said, he's not going to take none of that. Okay, oh, Lord. I said, okay, then we got to sneak it on him. So what I'm going to do is put you a essential oil combination together. Okay. it's aromatherapy, yeah, okay. it's aromatherapy. And I said, now you show her how to do it. Put this combination, 12 to 24 drops, every night before you come home, and burn it through the evening. Right? She said, what's it going to do? I said, it's going to relieve him of stress. It's going to, geranium will give him more mental strength and take away fear and confidence. Right?
You eat it, geraniums?
And then the patchouli is antidepressant. Okay? And those are the emotional foundations on which a lot of our addictive behavior starts from. Okay? So she did it. 30 days later, she come back. She said, Baraka, it worked. I said, what? Right? She said, he's down to 1 beer a night. Okay? Now, I could have said, well, that's not good enough. You know what I mean? Mr. Perfect. And I said, good. Okay? If that's where we can get him, that one is better than 20 beers a night. So you get people where they can function in a way that they're not dysfunctional.
So you saying that the herbs and the sex was what helped him, his
Yeah.
stress?
Yeah, he's breathing it in.
Yeah,
It's called aromatherapy.
yeah.
Okay. And he got down to 1 beer. I said, good. He ain't gonna take no herbs, but he don't know he was breathing them in all the time. You see what I'm saying? And so I'm not AA. Okay. 12 steps. No, it's only 1 step. To change the quality of your life, then you have to be aware at what is causing I'm thinking, I said Bovu, the corruption of your life. Okay. I speak several languages, so sometimes words come up and I have to translate them. Okay. So the thing that we have to understand is dysfunctional executive syndrome can be caused by head injuries, okay? Innate chemical disorders, like you're born with a natural chemical imbalance, okay? Which they call, what is it they use? They call it, it'll come to me. But it's when you're going imbalanced, one day you're manic depressant, okay? A manic depressant. Bipolar, let's say call it bipolar, but everybody's bipolar. We have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. Okay, we'll go through that. I'm not trying to get everything in one class. But also from a diet of junk food and malnutrition from the synthetic foods of the corporate world, which is validated by your government, FDA. Now we're gonna go through certain foods. I'm gonna skip some of this, because I gave y'all that story. Okay, and that's why we can see in our youth a drastic moral decline and violent behaviors. Okay, dysexecutive syndrome, very important. People be putting up all these programs, this and that. I said, I got one program. A balanced diet of real food. Okay? Now we're going to go down here and say, let's examine from a nutritional point of view the effects of corporate synthetic foods upon this organ and how we can reverse the negating effects of such food. The greatest negating effects upon this organ is 1, caffeine. Now, I'm not talking about real caffeine. I'm not talking about real coffee. I'm talking about the synthetic, denatured coffee that you're eating, corporate coffee. They burn it until it is denatured. And then they spray it with synthetic caffeine. Okay, it's not real caffeine. Now, I just gave Amber some real coffee. Y'all might want to say, can we see the real coffee? All right. And then maybe one day we'll go to the kitchen, everybody hang in there, and I'll show you, because I know I want to do juices, because I donated like 3 juices, so that we can have a class where I can show you how to make juices, how to mix juices, based upon the illness that you have. Let food be your what? Medicine. And medicine be your food. Okay. Crystallized sugar processed carbo. Sugar is regulated by the FDA as a drug. Crystallized white sugar is a drug. Mercury, alcohol, distilled alcohol. I'm not talking about wine and beer. Distilled alcohol. Okay. Pharmaceutical and illegal drugs and cigarette tobacco. Okay. Turn to page 22. Now, listen to this. And read along with me. I wrote this, okay? I'm trying to go a little quick. We may have to skip over some, but you have the material, so that's why I had the material copy. But caffeine has the effect on the frontal lobe that is deceptive because it raises the acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is a biochemical that helps the brain process messages to the body. Okay? All right. And gives a person a perception that his awareness and intellectual functioning are optimal, which in fact, this delusion only lasts about a half an hour, and after a half an hour, the body detects no need for flight or fight. So the acetylcholine begins to drop, and so does the intellectual and moral judgment faculties of the frontal lobe drops. Okay, this is hypo and hyper. You drink that coffee, and you feel like, yeah, you know, but there's no need for fight, flight, or fight. Okay. Or do nothing. Yeah. So it begins to drop, and now it drops below the normal. Okay, that's the normal. That's hyper. Hyper, and that's hypo. Okay, which is the normal. Abnormal. We want to be here. Okay. When it raises too high, the body is overworking itself, right? So you exhaust the body organs. You drink 3-7 cups of coffee a day, or you drink that 1 cup that's that big. Only 1 cup a day, you go get a 24 ounce. That's not 1 cup. A healthy intake of coffee is 1 to 2 cups a day. Yeah. And once we bring down some real coffee and show you how to make it, okay, you're not going to have any problem. Okay. But that synthetic caffeine takes you way up, and your body is, because that's what the neurons do, is activate you, activate thought, activate memory, send messages, electronic messages throughout the body.
What about tea and soda?
Soda is bad. And it depends on what tea that you're drinking. But if you're drinking like green tea with caffeine, keep the same measurement, 1 to 2 cups a day. Okay. Don't go into 3, 4, 5, 6, and make sure that you measure it properly on the therapeutic level. Okay. All right. So, the acetylcholine drops, the moral consciousness drops. The adenosine is affected by the caffeine in a depleting way. That is, adenosine causes blood to the frontal lobe to be obstructed, while caffeine causes to deplete to an imbalanced level, hindering the flow of blood to the lobe, which causes a depletion of needed oxygen, nutrients, and minerals. This is called a chemical imbalance in the brain, and such is called by definition a condition of mental illness.
Wow.
Okay. Clinically, you are mentally ill. Okay. Because the brain functions here competently, not up here and not down here. Okay. Okay. So the overuse of caffeine raises the output also of dopamine. Dopamine is like a sedative in the brain,
That's good stuff.
right? Yeah. Dopamine is like a sedative in the brain. And after a few years of caffeine abuse, the dopamine is exhausted. That's when you're really mentally ill. That's when you ever seen people who nervous all the time,
Get the headaches,
edgy
yeah.
all the time, and lose their temper over little stuff. They are suffering dopamine, okay, exhaustion. They're not putting or outputting dopamine because they done sped up their brain from the coffee and the synthetic caffeine to the degree and overworked, and it's putting out more dopamine than it should in order to try to calm it down. It's trying to fight against it, okay? And then eventually, the dopamine is exhausted. Same thing with drugs and alcohol. That also stimulates dopamine exhaustion. And so you're walking around and you see these people, they got attitudes, or they're always sad, and frigidity, and sensitive, and all this. They're mentally ill. And then look at their diet.
It's a bad combination.
Yeah, it's a bad combination. So I have mercy, because I know. I'm like, it's okay. I understand. Okay. I understand. Come on, man, let's go have a juice. Okay. So we're going to go to the second one, because we don't have much time. And the second is sugar. And I'm going to pick this up, because I want to get all of this. Okay. Abstract, crystallized white sugar that the corporate world propagates in this way. That sugar is an essential need of the body. That is like saying that heroin is an essential need of the body. Since both are a drug. The fact is that sugar in its own natural environment, that is in the cane, you eat it from the cane, it's in its own natural environment, it has fiber and other sources of nutrition that is natural to the sugar cane. Once you extract it and turn it into and separate it from its environment, it becomes a synthetic drug. It's not a food. Okay? All right? Now, because we deal with addiction, we got to understand before you took that first drink, you begin a cycle of addiction. When you took that first donut, yeast and white sugar, ate it, it went into the stomach where you got hydrochloric acid, heats it up and causes it to ferment into what? Alcohol. So the first drink you took was that jelly donut. And once it gets in the body, it ferments. I don't know how many people ever made homemade wine, but what do you use? Yeast and sugar. So you got 3,000 degrees, they breaking down the food. What you think it's gonna do? It's gonna ferment when you eat that jelly donut. Any product of yeast that is mixed with sugar will turn into a fermented beverage within you and have the same damage and do the same damage to your body, okay, that alcohol do. Alcohol is quicker because it goes straight to the blood. It don't go through the digestive system. Okay. So that's why our addiction started. White sugar, white bread, white rice, white flour, all these are substances in which the natural vitamin, mineral, and fiber content has been removed. Okay.
Just looking at it, it looks like a
Yeah.
leftover.
And it surges. Where when you eat fiber food, the sugar release, because the brain only holds 2 minutes of sugar, okay, at a time. It uses 2 minutes of sugar at a time. So it should be a gradual intake into the body. When you eat those carbs that have no filter, no fiber, which is a filter, it releases that sugar slowly. And don't overstress the pancreas. Okay. 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon of sugar, it takes 4 pancreases to deal with it. We only have 1. And that's why you have so much diabetes mellitus. Okay? Because it surges. Your acetylcholine goes up, it obstructs your adenosine, you're not getting the proper nutrients and oxygen to the brain. The pH of the brain is 9.2. If it falls below 9.2, you know what it does? It takes vitamins from other organs of your body because it will kill the body in order to survive. Okay. So I'm not telling you, okay, it's your choice. You want to drink that vodka? Go ahead. I just want you to know what it's doing to you. That distilled whiskey, remember what the word distilled means? It means it has no nutrients. Beer has hops and yeast and barley, so you got some nutrients out of that. Okay? Don't drink a case though. Wine. I'm a Messianic Hebrew. I practice Sabbath, and so at the end of Sabbath we always say likai, which is to life, and have some wine. Okay? But not the whole bottle. You see what I'm saying? But distilled alcohol, what they call strong drinks in the Bible, was forbidden. Why? It is a anti-health, anti-spiritual, anti-everything. Okay. So the fact is that the sugar in its own environment is good because it exists in the fiber environment, but extracted crystallized sugar is an acidic drug that wreaks havoc on the body system and destroys the isolates of the Langerhans or the melanin centers in the pancreas, causing diabetes mellitus. This is a fact. Okay. So we're going to move on. I want to deal with 2 others real quick and then take you to how to correct. So the next chemical, and there was some interesting things said about sugar. I want to take these quotes. In the book Sugar Blues, written by William Duffy, the author states, and he did great research on this, page 24, that there were no mental health institutions on the planet until the commerce of sugar was well established. I think that's powerful. There was no such thing as a mental institution until the commerce of sugar was well established.
That just seems so incredible.
Yeah, I told you some things that I'm revealed to you. I hope it don't repulse you. I hope it enlightens.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Barbara O'Neill from Australia, she's a great holistic doctor. There have been more slavery, death, and destruction surrounding the sugar trade than any other commerce. Okay. The worldwide, who's passed away, the late Dr. Lila Africa, who was my teacher, personal teacher, states in his book, African Holistic Health, white sugar is a refined carb and is technically classified as a drug. It takes 4 pancreases to process white sugar. Humans only have 1. So the effects on the brain of white sugar depletes what? Oxygen to the brain and causes adrenal weakness in the brain. This is a serious fact because if the endocrine system of the brain is weakened, the whole of the brain as well as the lower body system is functioning at a level that will in the end produce a disease state. Okay? All right. So let's go to 25 now. I'm going to go through this real quick because we're running out of time. So we got alcohol. We already know alcohol is a poison. It afflicts traumatizes anything over 0.001% alcohol in the body causes the liver to shut down. Okay. All right. And when you put that distilled 100 proof, oh, you might as well go get some arsenic. Okay. All right. So, so it has on the lobe, it nullifies rational reasoning, judgment, and intellectual comprehensive ability. It must be understood that any alcohol product, not just whiskey, any alcohol product, skin, shampoo, skin lotion, when applied to the skin, the product is assimilated into the body system and has the same effect on the body system as when you drink it, but it is more gradual in its effect. This must be perfectly understood because many products have wood alcohol in it. Wood alcohol is a poison. The sweeteners that you have, okay, has wood alcohol. It's made from wood alcohol. It's a poison. It freezes the brain and the functioning of the brain. You know, that's why this right here, you can pass it around, is called stevia. It is extracted from herbs. It's an herbal sweetener.
I've used that.
Okay, and it's good when you're trying to get off sugar. You can use that as a means of transition from sugar products. Okay, because you're gonna find out that if you say tomorrow, I'm not going to eat any sugar tomorrow, it ain't gonna be as easy as you think. Like a lot of Africa told me, I would rather treat a heroin addict than a person who's addicted to sugar. And so you need that because that helps with the transition, okay, from that crystallized sugar, you know, to healthy sugars. Go ahead.
All right, I've heard of this, I've never used it. But I know the saccharin and
Yeah.
then there's some others that are nasty,
Mhm.
even worse than sugar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Straight up chemicals.
yeah.
Okay. And so that's why I added that these artificial sweeteners are made from wood alcohol, which is a poison. Okay.
It's a plant.
So when we want to restore or recover, okay, we want to use omega-3, essential fatty acid used by the brain, which is found in walnuts. I got a big bag of walnuts. I eat a handful a day. It's one of the most effective nutrients restoring and repairing the membranes of brain cells, okay, especially in the frontal lobe. Herbs that will assist in its restoration. We got 10 minutes. Let me try to get to it. Herbs. Go to cola.
Could you repeat that?
Go to cola or go to cola. You can even, sometimes it's spelled with an O. Ginkgo. These are herbs. Ginkgo biloba. Damiana. Okay. These are three that helps to oxygenate or to increase the oxygen flow to your brain. Now, Damiana, if you have a job where you are active, you know, I mean like, you know, working, use Damiana as your bottom. If you have a sit-down job, then you can use a nervine or a comative, such as skull cap. Okay? Okay. Other is valerian, blue vervain, especially if you're having seizures, you can use the blue vervain. Okay. Passion flower, lemongrass. Okay. It must be understood that high levels of stress will prevent effective healing and restoration.
What page is that?
That's page 31. Okay. All right. And then the foods that we want to eat is here. Okay, y'all have it. but I'm gonna just recite it because I want you to have this so you can understand the nutritional value of each food. Here you go. Okay. You can understand the tradition, the value of the food, so you can know when I'm eating, okay, this is what I'm doing for my body. Magnesium is good, of the collard green is good for the heart, okay? Very good for the heart, okay? Most people who have sickness have a low rate of magnesium, and that's what we try to build that magnesium up. The manganese, if you have diabetes, is really good in lowering keeping the blood sugar low, and that's in collard greens. Then we have kale, a source of A, K, B6, and C, and then kale also have manganese, a 1.5 cup 3 times a week. Okay, so it's all on there. Okay, and then we have parsley, carrots, asparagus, spinach, red pepper. Okay, these are the food. Now you gotta cook these properly. Like I said, don't cut the heat up and it's boiling for 15 minutes. You know, if you're gonna cook it in the pot, just cook it 5 minutes, get it hot, simmer it for about 5 minutes. Okay, you don't want to destroy these nutrients that's in those foods. Okay, we got 5 minutes. Fruits, cantaloupe. Okay, now cantaloupe, let's look at this. Vitamin C protects cells from damage. Okay, vitamin A, potassium, heart, bone, eye, and blood pressure. Okay, it helps to fight against these diseases. Okay, we didn't get to go, but I'll bring it back up about blood pressure. Okay, okay, so cantaloupe is real good. Tart apples, or those Granny Smith apple, is also anti-carcinogen. Okay. Lime, filled with vitamin C, which is an antioxidant. Bananas, potassium. Potassium helps to remove chemicals from the cell, drain chemicals from the cell, okay? And peaches, okay? So that's the fruit. Supplements you want to use, Q10 enzyme, okay? Lecithin, 2 tablespoons a day, or 1,200 milligrams 3 times a day if you go and get some Lecithin. That's not on there. Riboflavin, carotene, which you get out of carrots. Vitamin B12, very important, and vitamin B3. Folate, iron, and vitamin C for absorption. That's why they call it ascorbic acid. Because vitamin C increases the body's ability to absorb the nutrients into the bloodstream. Okay. Now, the vitamin C that has sugar in it, the pathway that the vitamin C moves through is blocked by the sugar. So if you're taking those chewable vitamins and it has 5 milligrams of sugar, you might as well just go get a handful of candy. Because the vitamin C is not going to get through. Because the sugar blocked the pathway in which the vitamin C moves through the body. So when they get the kids those chewable vitamins with Fred Flintstones, you might as well just go get them some candy instead of deceiving them. Okay? Right? And make, just be honest. Okay? Because the hardest thing when I got into this in 1982, okay, which helped me get off drugs, alcohol, abuse. Okay. See, I don't call it alcoholism. I call it alcohol abuse. Now, you give me a person, I won't tell them quit drinking. I say, go ahead. Put the stuff on him and give him the proper vitamins, chickweed and kudzu, okay? That depletes chickweed depletes the appetite. And in about a week or two, he's not gonna even want it. He's not gonna even want it. I ain't gotta tell him, because I know when the body says, okay, because you're not giving me no nutrients, I'm gonna live off this alcohol. I'm gonna feed off the alcohol.
And you
But
can
once
just-
you start putting nutrients back in the body, and the body says, oh, okay, vitamin A, vitamin, yeah, I think I want that. Okay.
You know it too.
And the desire for the alcohol is going to decrease. So I don't go around talking about, oh, you gotta abstain. Yeah, if you can abstain, but you still have an addictive pattern because you abstain from alcohol, and then every morning you the first one at the coffee shop buying a donut, alcohol in another form, with some stimulant coffee, and getting the same thing you was getting when you was drinking. That's the same addictive pattern. Okay? Go ahead.
All right, what about vitamin pills?
Supplements, but get vegetable-based supplements. When you go into any health food store, make sure you ask them, is these vegetable-based supplements? If it's not, don't buy them.
Well, I'm talking about a pill, one pill.
I'm talking about a pill.
Oh, they have them like that?
Yeah, vegetable-based. Okay, don't get the pharmaceutical-based or any other based, vegetable-based, because it assimilates in the body and has no negative effects. Just like
We have to go to the health food store to get it?
Yeah, most of the time, most of the stuff in drugstores and stuff is pharmaceutical-based.
Vegetable-based,
Vegetable-based supplements. Okay. So we're gonna end here, and you have the material. So everything I didn't cover, you can read, okay? And I'm really happy that you guys came, because this is important, okay? You as a grandmother, or you as a mother, you know, see, I know I'm never gonna be perfect in this, but my son will, because all he knows, I had a little get together and he came in and he was, you know, eating a carrot. And they was amazed. I said, no, he don't do candy.
Good habit to start again.
Right. He know what food is. Because I teach him. That's not food. That's a drug. Okay. So see, he got a good start. Well, we had a bad start. You understand? But we can get back in health, but don't expect perfection. You might always have that one beer. I got down to one. You know what I mean? And, but your children and your, okay, we get you down to two.
He
Okay?
told me
You know, so because we've been contaminated, I don't put that pressure on people when I give therapy. I don't do that. That's too much pressure. If you mess up, what they do? Kick you out. No, if you mess up, we take them to the kitchen and start filling them up on juices and vitamins, strengthening him. Okay? Y'all corrupted him. The society corrupted him with junk food and food that are nothing but chemical hosts. From the time he was born, and then you expect him to be perfect. And then when he ain't perfect, you punish him. This is not a punitive program. It's a redemptive program. Okay. So study and read the material. Okay. All right. So y'all know I don't get paid for this. I'm doing this voluntarily out of love because of the Messianic Hebrew we practice as a doctor, which is charity. Okay. All right. So I'm not getting paid. I do get paid in some places, like $1,200 a seminar. Okay. But in this case, you know, because I was where a lot of people is, worse. You understand? But through the mercy of Yahweh Elohim, I'm who I am and what I am today. So peace and blessings to you, and hopefully we see all of you guys next week.
Yeah.
Glad.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
I've been a diabetic since age 17, so it's over 55 years. And is there hope that this could get
What
better?
level are you, 2 or 1?
I'm type 1,
Okay. we can lower your doses. We'll put you on chromium picolinate, vanadil sulfate, and manganese and potassium, 100 milligrams of potassium in a healthy diet, where one can't be healed because you no longer have any more Langerhans, okay? Melanine centers have been totally destroyed, but we can help you monitor it and keep it controllable.
Okay.
Okay, and we're gonna do something on that, and so bring pencil and paper, and then go get the stuff that I tell you to, and I'm gonna formulate a juice diet for you and a diet for you that'll bring it down.
I finally got down to 7.8 for my A1C, which is the lowest ever, but he wants me to get to 7.0, which is gonna be really tough.
No, it's not gonna be tough at all.
But.
It's not gonna be tough at all.
So far, it has been
Yeah,
very
that's because
tough.
you didn't know what to do.
Right,
But
right.
now we're gonna learn what to do,
Okay.
and within 30 days, you're gonna be balanced, you're gonna be down even lower than 7.0.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
I am just so happy about this,
Mhm.
because as far as I know, it hasn't affected me, but just listening to, you know, what she's saying and picking up all that information.
Yeah.
Is great.
Yeah, it's,
Oh,
and they keep this information to you, from you, okay? And so, I think Elohim for the elders, when we respected elders, I thank them who stepped in and helped me become a competent person, not a perfect one. That's for my son to achieve, because he's not exposed or contaminated by the food exploitation. I keep it from him. Okay.
How?
By supervising and saying no. He looks at candy, no. He said, okay. He go to the fruit. Want some
I'm not worried about
blackberries,
candy
some
so
red
much. How old is he?
berries. 9.
Candy, okay, He's not a teen, but,
No, you don't have no
junk
candy.
food or anything like
No,
that?
no junk food, nothing. My wife does some things, but we working it out. She gives in. I don't give in.
Mhm.
Sometimes she gives in and I have to check that. Okay. So, yeah, we gotta get out of here.
No, you guys are perfectly fine. I wanted to, remind you of your sign-in sheet.
Okay.
Tracy
all right.
had me run that in to you guys.
Okay.
Here it is.
She
Yeah.
wants her, oh, it's on the other side?
Mhm.
Yeah, do me a favor. She logs those, sign again for me. She's asking for that official form.
Okay.
Put the title of your class there, and she files those. Let's just give
Okay.
her what she wants. Sorry for the interruption.
Okay, let me cut this off, all right?
You want
But-
to transfer, I can do that.
Okay, all right, please. So, you know, just, take the information, it's very valuable. And see, the one thing I learned, let me tell you something, when I began this program, okay, I didn't know how many people would become my antagonists. But now I
Become what?
my antagonists, that means enemies of what I was doing.
Oh,
They would be against and they would talk about me. And I was a very sensitive young man, okay? Too sensitive. I've grown out of 80% of that sensitivity. But it really hindered me. So believe me, when you start telling people that you're on drugs and don't know it, you're a drug addict, they're not gonna like you for that. Okay? All right?
Listen, I have a hard time with, I got some friends that are, what would you call it, pseudo-vegetarians.
Yeah, well, let me state this. I don't teach vegetarianism.
Okay.
I teach holistic eating. That means
Holistic
eating,
what?
eating,
Huh.
diet.
All right,
You can't just eat vegetables.
I know.
Then you got fruitarian. I don't deal with isms. Feminism, chauvinism, all that stuff is socially addictive, and it lessens your perimeter of functioning in the world.
Oh, I agree with that.
Okay. So what we deal with is reality. Okay. In the Greek language, I speak Greek and read anyway. And aletheia, know the truth, aletheia, gnosko aletheia. That word aletheia means reality. Okay. So I'm gonna end here. I appreciate everybody from coming in. Reality. Emit in the Hebrew language, Kweli in the Kiswahili language. Reality. This is the reality. Okay. Anything that is not a part of this order of reality that produces health, wealth, well-being, and spiritual maturity, leave it alone. It's gonna kill you.
I think they need to have you on here continually.
Well,
For different groups that wanna come in,
yeah,
because I've just learned so much.
if they order, like I said, I believe in Zadaka. I believe that what I'm doing is Zadaka. And I have nothing but true love in my heart for anyone that had to go through the struggles I went through. And to have at least, before you leave this world, at least a few years of enjoyment and peace, okay? So, let me let y'all go, peace and blessings, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.